Hey guys, it's M, and welcome to hopefully the second Soten recap of this week, if this comes out at the time I wanted to anyway. This time, I read from chapters 90 to 140. As you can see, is a lot more than I usually read. I don't want to read anymore until I get this out, because it would make the recap extremely long. So, I thought I'd talk about what I remember from what I read. And from what I remember, there's a lot to talk about. So as you remember last time, I was like, wow, I sure hope they don't really focus on Taeyeon's brother because he's not really that interesting. So they focused on Taeyeon's brother, and as you can imagine, it's not really that interesting. Honestly, I read all these chapters about a week ago, if not like 3 or 4 days ago, and I don't remember much of Taeyeon's brother's little arc thing. I remember there was an owl guy who wasn't funny. And then they have a few flashbacks of Taeyeon's brother and Taeyeon being raised, and you find out that the big guy was their master's birth son, and Taeyeon was the adopted son, but he just happened to be better at stuff. That happened. I don't really have an emotion tied to that. The big guy gets a redemption arc because Taeyeon shows up himself, who is absolutely ruined now. Taeyeon doesn't have a personality anymore. After they beat him that first time, he has no personality at all. He doesn't crack a joke, he doesn't smile. He's just a fucking blank slate that does martial arts, and not even really. Because he wasn't even involved in the fight they had with the big guy. He showed up at the end and was like, brother, I have to execute you, but not really because you're a good guy and daddy loves you. So I'm just gonna snatch your memories away, and then I leave. Yeah, and he fucking disappears again, by the way. This dude just appears when he's needed. He's like the mysterious stranger in Fallout. He's like a random chance event. The whole thing where they were like, oh, the big guy was the birth son. I don't really care. I didn't really care about their master. I thought he was literally going to show up in the book, like, in current time and not in a flashback, and he doesn't. I guess the Taeyeon backstory is nice. I can't say I really care about it. So with that out of the way, I guess I should go on. Feiyun's brother appears to set up the introduction of Feiyun. And Feiyun's brother, I think, got shafted really fucking hard. So he shows up. Kazumi's doing something, and he appears in front of Kazumi. They fight for a little bit. He does the Souther thing, the Souther bird thing. And then he's like, you're a pretty cool guy, Kazumi. And he leaves. And from that, I was thinking, wow, what a cool character. I'm shocked no one's talked about this guy. He looks like he's going to be a Souther-type mentor character. I can't wait to see what they do with him. Yeah, he gets fucking shot by an unrelated party. He doesn't get a cool fight or anything. He gets blasted opening up a fucking window. Because, you know, SNK doesn't know how to write characters, apparently. Feiyun has this kid he's watching over, which I'll explain more in a second. And they're talking, and they have the windows locked, the blinds covered or whatever. And the brother walks in and he's like, why do you guys have the windows closed? And Feiyun's like, oh, you know, me and the kid are just talking. And Feiyun's brother goes like, no, seriously. Opens up the window, opens up the blinds, turns his back from the window, and then gets blasted. Which is funny because he knows, like, discount Nanto, so I'm pretty sure if he just looked out the fucking window, he could have sliced the bullets in half, but, you know, we just want to get rid of characters over here, so it does what it does. Then we gotta talk about Feiyun himself. He exists. I don't really feel any particular strong feelings about him. He's watching over a kid, and their whole dynamic is like, my parents are dead. Can you take care of me? Can you be my dad? And Feiyun's like, I feel bad for you, poor innocent little child. That's basically their whole dynamic. He's kind of like if Rei and Ayn fused together, and I don't know. I don't really care for Rei, and I don't really care for Ayn either, so I'm sure you can imagine why I don't feel too much about this character. He showed up, and he has to fight Ken for some reason that I can't even remember. Because when I explain these things to you, you guys don't understand how much, like, filler shit I'm skipping when I explain these big moments to you. Because there's so much talking that's still in the book. It's actually ridiculous. I'm starting to understand why HNK worked. Because in HNK, there wasn't really world politics going on, so you didn't have Shin going around and talking to Yuta like, yo, you heard what happened in the Souther Triad? And then they go back and then they introduce everyone's family in the Souther Triad, and then they introduce Souther, and then they introduce his mom and his dad and his pops. SNK does that all the time. So when I have to bring up what I remember from these arcs, a lot of reasons I forget some of the smaller things that happen is because it's surrounded by a bunch of shit that no one cares about. Anyway, back to Feiyun. I guess I should mention, he kills Geis in the most embarrassing way possible, I find. So, to break it down for you guys, you haven't really heard me mention Geis doing anything. You've heard me mention, oh yeah, Taeyeon killed his sister, like, you know, things were happening to him, but he wasn't actively doing anything. So, Feiyun finds Geis, and fucking kills him immediately. If you guys expected me to say, oh, and then they fight, right? It wasn't even really a fight. Geist didn't even get to throw a punch from what I remember. Theon immediately slices his shit and he gets, like, dead. It's pretty rough. You would think for the first serious time they would have Geist fight, he would get to do something, but he doesn't. Theon immediately shits on him. Geist extends his life a little bit so he can tell Ken about Fei-Yun. And that's it. Geist doesn't actually get to seriously fight one time in the entire book. You see a little bit of flashes of it here and there from what I remember. Like, I think he bitched Mang for like 2 seconds. And he shot a random goon once. That's really all the fighting you get to see him do. Even though he apparently knows Hukto, you never get to fucking see any of that, because Fan immediately shits in his mouth. So, that was pretty cool. The one good thing about Geist's death is the way they drew out the scene was pretty good. I don't know what it is with SNK, with characters being kind of dookie before they die, but their death scene is pretty good. Him dying on a boat, watching over the city and fireworks going off, and him seeing his dream and them comforting him, it was a nice moment. The drawings were pretty good too. I don't really know what else to say about that. And then Ken fights Fei-Yun, and the fight is kind of stupid. I'm not gonna lie. So the fight starts. Fei-Yun slices Ken's back and he's like, oh, you fucked me up. Oh. He gets on one knee, gets up because he's a Chad and he doesn't care that he just got his back sliced open. They continue fighting and Fei-Yun goes, ha! I have 1,000 arms. You can't do anything to me. Your arms are tied up with my arms, so no one can swing at anyone. Ha ha ha! And then they do a fist rush, and Fei-Yun gets hurt. He's like, Nani, what is this? And then Kazumi says the most dumb thing ever. He goes, well, in the middle of our fist rush, I did Tenha. So I actually have 1,001 arms, because I have my finger. And if you look at the panels, he literally does not do Tenha in it, like at all. Maybe it's meant to be, he did it so fast you couldn't even see it, which is kind of a cop-out answer, low-key. The fact that he just threw in a Tenha and a beam rush that no one got to see. And it immediately ends the fight, by the way. I can't remember them fighting after that. If they did, maybe they flicked each other in the nose once and then the fight ended. But Kazumi does Tenha mid-rush. The fight ends. Fei-Yun almost kills himself for a reason that I can't remember. Kazumi stops him and then they're friends. And after that, Zong shows up. And I intentionally stopped where Zong showed up because when Zong shows up and Yasuka, who I haven't seen yet, shows up, that's when I'm told, this is when the story hits peak. You're gonna love it. This is when the entire story comes together. None of those chapters were wasted. This is the comeback arc. I have the intention of fully reviewing SNK after I finish the entire thing. I'll do a proper review on it. The thing is, Zong doesn't show up until chapter 140. The fact that nothing in this book appealed to me in that entire stretch of time, I don't know if I could really call it a good book. The entire start of the book is bad. I can't imagine myself giving it anything more than maybe a 7 or a 6. I don't know how good the upcoming part is going to be. I really hope it knocks my socks off and blows me out the window. At this point, with how many nothing burger chapters have happened, with a few little interesting sprinkles in between, which they kind of usually ruin immediately after they put them on, I can't imagine giving it anything higher than a 7. Because if I make something and you have to get halfway through the book to get to the decent part, I don't know if I could call it a good book. You have to think the entirety of HNK 1 would have ended already at chapter 140. That's like HNK 2. That's about when they're about to fight Falco, I think is where 140 is in HNK. The fact that SNK takes this long is just, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how to describe it. It's horrible. It's horrible pacing. And the fact that you couldn't really make anything super interesting until this point, which I don't even know if it's interesting yet or not. We're gonna have to find out. It's just a little weak to me. I really hope this turns around all my thoughts about SNK. I really want to eat my words and go, you know what? It was worth it. I really want that to happen. I don't see it happening from what they've shown me so far, but I really, really, really want that to happen. And I know this recap's been a little bit longer than the others, but I guess it's because I read so many chapters. But I think that's where I'm going to wrap this one up. So with that, I've been M, and I am out.